I'm Josh Allen, and welcome to the Baked In podcast, where I sit down with industry innovators to uncover the unique ideas and values that are baked into their businesses and have led to extraordinary success. This podcast is presented by Busey Bank. Busey has been built on a foundation of strength and service, delivering expert advice and tailored solutions for businesses and individuals for over 155 years. What I love about working with them is they're not only bankers, but they're huge supporters of community. For example, since the inception of Busey scholarship programs and partnerships with local universities, they've contributed over $250,000 in scholarships throughout their footprint. You can learn more about their community impact at busey.com. On this week's episode, I'm joined by Dave Boller, the GM of the United Football League's St. Louis Battlehawks. As a general sports fan, I really enjoyed the opportunity to learn more about the structure of the league, how they're helping develop players for the NFL, and have been a bit of an experimental playground for innovative rules and technology. We talk about everything from the hub league model with all the players living and training in Texas, fixed salaries for all positions, and the all-hands-on-deck approach to launching a startup league. It's a lot like any entrepreneurial journey. Let's roll. So I guess, Dave, as you kind of roll into this second season coming up here for the UFL, that as I was reading and doing some research, like trust kind of becomes a huge issue in this deal as it relates to the fans, right? Because it's how do you get behind a team when you don't know about the viability of the league or you don't know if the team's going to be around? And obviously, St. Louis has survived a few of those cuts. And I know we'll talk a little bit later. It's got a tremendous fan base here in St. Louis. But in terms of the league in general, how do you look at that and how do you answer that question as it relates to sort of this ongoing viability issue?
You know, you hit a good word there, trust, because when we merged last year, each division or each league gave up 4 teams. You know what I mean? And Seattle was a good franchise for us, as I'm sure Pittsburgh was for them or whatever. But, you know, I think the fans are trying to make sure, hey, are we coming back? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's all the teams. And the other thing is, you know, we work out of a hub. So until I think the teams actually move to the city for the whole year, I think we'll get even a better response. In St. Louis, we were lucky. We inherited a decent fan base from XFL1 that COVID year. And then Coach Beck is so good working it and just pounding St. Louis to, you know, get behind us. We're going to give you a product to be proud of. And they've embraced us and we've embraced them. It's a great atmosphere. But again, trust on, you know, is the league going to be here next year? And I think with no expansion this season, and us having the same markets, that's a huge step in the right direction.
I mean, as we look at season one, was it a relative success for what sort of the expectations were? I think mainly, I guess my question initially is about the whole league, and then we can talk about St. Louis specifically.
Yeah, you know, the people we report to, the vice president, the presidents, and the owners, and I think our numbers were up with viewership on TV, which was huge. Across the board, all markets, that's came back. And then season tickets were up, not in some markets as good as others. And they're putting a plan to attack corporate and get in the communities and do a better job of getting, you know, people in the stands more.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like from the numbers that I saw that there was an average of like 832,000 viewers per game, which was up in the 30% range from where it was before on the average.
Yeah.
So certainly there's some interest in it.
Yeah, I guess 1 week, I'm trying to think who was against besides NBA basketball, someone else we beat. So that's good. You know, I think everyone wants over 1 million over the board, and that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, when you look at TV in the spring for me, and I was around as a student when the USFL came to Tempe, and I worked those games as an 18-year-old. It drew well. I think there was a place for it because there wasn't as much ESPN. But when you watch ESPN and you got, you know, the beanbag toss and Texas full, I mean, come on, there's not a lot on TV after basketball.
Sure, that was back in the Doug Flutie days, or Steve Young, I guess, right? That was when Steve had made the decision to go there.
Yeah, it was some cool football, man. Reggie White, I mean, I like I said, I was a youngster, and you know the coaches were cool, and Rick Neuheisel played in it. I mean, a lot of people Steve Spurrier was one of the first coaches, and it was a good deal, and we drew well in Arizona. I think they drew well around. So I think getting back to that and the model, there's a place for spring football, especially helping the kids develop to get to the NFL.
So as you had mentioned before that it's a hub model, and I think it will be a little bit of a surprise. It certainly was to me the more that I dug into it sort of in advance of this conversation. Can we talk a little bit about the structure of the league? So everything is a hub out of Arlington, Texas? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it was confusing to me at first too, but when you look at the business model, the USFL had one, the XFL one, and so when they came together and it was – they got together. I mean, they had been talking, but that thing all went down about Christmas last year, and they had a month to get it right for our season. So I think what they did, and, Russ Brandon on our side, Daryl Johnston and their people and Fox, they did a heck of a job. What happens is all teams are located in Arlington. There's 2 teams that will share a high school facility, and about high school football in Texas. They're very nice. I mean, the locker rooms are almost pro locker rooms. They have a training room, everything we need. There's press boxes that if it's raining, I can be up there nice and warm watching with my binoculars way high. So it's a good deal. So one team will work out in the mornings. The other team is in their office complex meeting and doing their stuff and film review. Then the afternoons you switch. They each have a weight room. So that part, you see the cost saving right there. Facilities, you cut it in half. And then each of us, like I said, Choctaw, which is the old Ranger Stadium, 2 teams are based there, and their meeting facilities are there. There's enough meeting rooms. So that's a nice cost saving. Plus, that's where the Renegades, Coach Stoops' home's at. And then when we fly out, the only problem is for us, we never have a home game,
Sure.
Literally. We're always flying. Even St. Louis is our home. So it's really nice in the NFL or college football when you're playing at home, your Friday's easier, your Saturday, Sunday you play, come home, have dinner with your family. But, we get on a plane on Saturday, share, believe it or not, we share 727 with the other team. Home team's in the front, visiting team's back. That's a little awkward. I ain't going to lie now.
Sure.
And then you land, you each go to your hotel, you meet on that field at, let's say 3 p.m., you duke it out, and then you got to get on that plane, and that's a hard ride home for one team now.
So for the 10-week season, all of those players are based out of Texas. So they immediately go back. So they're not going home in that 10-week window for the season.
Yeah,
right?
They're all at home, and it works out to the advantage of the guys who are from Texas. But the league does a good job of providing them with a stipend on housing. And the year before we kept everybody at the hotel, which I thought. I believe it or not, some of our guys liked, but I thought it was tough on the married guys or the older guys, having to share a room with someone for 4 months. But the stipend they provided this year, guys went out and got VRBOs or nice apartments, and it seemed to work.
And if I read correctly, everybody's on a fixed, is it a $50,000 salary? Everybody makes the same amount of money, or is that not the case?
There was a bonus to get in the playoffs each week. If you're an active player and 42 guys are on the active roster, you get $5,500. Inactive means the third quarterback, who's your 43rd player, or guys that just didn't, maybe were banged up or didn't get to dress. They only get 25.
Okay. And that it doesn't matter what position you're playing. It's that fixed amount of money, right?
Fixed amount of money. And the XFL the year before, there was a little difference with quarterbacks. And then I think the league came together and say, hey, we're not going to, if we're going to do bonuses, it's going to be on performance based, and which it'll come to, I think, you know what I mean? There's unions getting involved now. That's over my pay grade. But right now, I think the salaries will be the same for next year, and all the stipends are in line. Yeah.
So as the GM, do you think that, I mean, obviously it simplifies things a little bit. Does it make that job a lot different, obviously, and easier, or does it make it harder in some respects?
It makes it probably overall easier. You don't have to negotiate. I even had to come to some of the guys, hey, Dave, we heard so-and-so's getting this or that. Maybe a guy just I said, it's not true. Everybody's getting the same. I would know, so you had to get that through to, and sometimes, there's a big belief quarterbacks should be paid more just because, it's a offense-driven league, just like the NFL, and you want quarterbacks to come to play. if you're going to pay them the same as your field goal kicker, maybe they'll stay at home and watch from the sidelines and get ready for the next season, hoping they land in a camp. So there's I see pros and cons for both, but no, it does. When it's a fixed income, I don't have to negotiate. It makes it a lot easier.
So where are these players coming from? Are they going through the NC2As and then coming post-college, or is this in some respects in lieu of going to college for some folks?
No,
where do most of the players come from?
Our rule's similar to the NFL. You have to have been out of high school for 2 years. Preferably they do the 3 years in college like the NFL, but we'll look after 2 years. This year we just had a draft a week ago, and that was 2024 guys that were UDFAs, undrafted free agents, so they could be on rosters now, but they didn't get drafted, or guys that went to rookie mini camps and didn't make the big camp. So we each took 10 of that. So basically our league is pretty much we're taking guys that aren't making it in the NFL. Like let's say Jared Jones, my starting left tackle. He's been out of Pittsburgh for over 4 years. He was on a practice squad the whole year last year with Washington. And I called him and I said, hey, Jared, why don't you come on back? You can play 10 games with us. You're going to get that tape on film, and you'll have more NFL teams interested. We're going to win. They're going to take notice, and then let's see what happens. And, he got to make a little bit more money. Practice squad guys make good money these days, but that's the kind of guys, the top echelon. You're looking at maybe the guy's been out of college 3 or 4 years but hadn't played in games, and there's a lot of quarterbacks like that. There's a lot of every position like that need tape for, hey, they haven't had game tape in that long, and that's where we kind of look at our value to sell to them to get them to play.
So does the NFL look at it as a development league, or do you guys look at it as an alternative to the NFL?
Both ways, I think. I think when this started with the Rock, hey, we're a spring football league. We're a professional league, but our goal is to try to get them back to the NFL. Everybody knows, the pay scale, what its difference, and the numbers, who watches the games and TV. So that's kind of our lure is, and we did get we put 16 back in the league last year. Not everybody stuck, but we got 16 in training camps. I think we're at 3 or 4 now for this year. And the problem this year was our season ended in June, and most of the mini camps are all done in OTAs. So that's why guys will get signed here in the next 2 weeks with injuries, and then they'll go into camp. So with our league starting late hurt probably the players a little bit.
Sure. Before we get off the structure, I'm interested from an administrative standpoint. So you're the general manager. How many other specific administrative positions are there per team versus the some of the stuff is sort of consolidated and obviously from a cost saving standpoint is handled by the league?
There was a joke when I was a young scout in the NFL. I was in college football for about 10 years and then got talking on the NFL, and no one wanted the Northeast because there wasn't a lot of players, and there is. You just got to find them, but it's not like the Southeast or the Big Ten, you know what I mean? And I tell general managers now when they're asking me about our players, I said, hey, I'll take that Northeast scouting area right now, and you'll never hear from me. I love what I do. It's so rewarding, but it's a startup company. So besides, I could be at Target at night buying toilet paper for the restrooms. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We are there's you'll see the defensive coordinator maybe cleaning up his room. We got to do it all. Yeah, we have a cleaning staff that comes in for our meeting rooms, but sometimes we'll cater our lunches in. And hey, if I go to Chick-fil-A and drop $200 just to help out, that's what it is. But I do the team travel. The league assigns help to us, but pretty much I don't have an operations guy or assistant now. Hopefully I get an intern this year because that's where it slows you down, just the paperwork and, spreadsheets and keeping track of every team and who's up and who's down. But it's a very limited.
So outside of the coaching staff, how many folks are working for you in an administrative role? Is it?
So as a general manager, then you have some departments. The video department has 2 full-time people. The trainers have 3. The equipment managers doing all there only have 2. And we did have an operations person the year before, but we lost that. And as a general manager, I took all those responsibilities. Now the league has assigned operations people, like a guy to two per team to make sure, hey, your buses and your planes and stuff like that, or your hotels go well. But, basically now, yeah, I'm doing room lists, plane manifest, where you set and stuff like that. So it's a very slim directory of personnel now.
And I was looking at on your LinkedIn profile, you mentioned that you also do some flooring sales. I mean, is this a full-time job for you, or is this a 10,
Yeah,
10 to
it's a full-time job. One of my friends played quarterback in Miami, Ohio. He's a few years younger than me, Mike Bates. He got hired when he didn't get signed in the NFL. This is 25 years ago. Shaw Industries signed him, one of those corporate fairs. So when I was out of work for 6 months after COVID, he goes, "Hey man, come sell carpet for me." You know what I mean? I mean, he knew I sold people, so I did, and it was there was nothing else to do, and at that time, you could still those stores were open. So yeah, it was a totally, I don't even know what polyester is, or the fibers, you know what I mean? But I just did it because Mike just knew my personality and said, "Hey, I'll go knock on doors for him," and it was fun. I did a different area of the country, and I love dealing with people. It's just like dealing with agents and trying to get players to come and play. You're selling a product. So it was right up my alley. It just happened to be hard floor and carpet. So,
but now that you're back into the football scene, that's a full-time gig year round.
Yeah, right now the general manager position is full year. The others are like half year contracts.
Okay.
So even though our coaches, we think they're all coming back. Even Anthony, the head coach, this is the first year he's been under a half-year contract. But we still talk. I know he's coming back, and it's just the way the league designed it this time. So.
And what are most of the players doing in the off season?
Working out. Some get other jobs. We had a matter of fact, it was a friend of coaches who come in. He's kind of like a headhunter, and he lectured the guys on internships, getting ready for the second phase of your life. And it's kind of like a lot of people in the league, even general managers like myself, might do podcasts or. I've been approached by many colleges about helping with the collective. Is Patrick Mahomes worth this amount of money, to buy, what I mean? What they're doing in college football now.
Sure.
But I tell you what, I'm so busy, I don't know where I'd find that time, to be honest.
So as you guys get ready to roll into the second season, what's your biggest focus as you continue to try to grow and expand and build the base of fans here? What's the focus for the league? And then maybe specifically for you, what's the focus in St. Louis?
Well, we want to bring a championship to the city, number one, and that's putting the best product and team together. We're waiting on that final number. Last year we got to go to camp, I want to say, with 74. I think it's going to get cut down. We're hoping around a 68 or 66 number. So the first thing I really need to do is really look at my roster in the next couple weeks and say, hey, these are the sure guys I'm bringing to training camp, which at the end of the year I had 49, which we were allowed 50, and I had probably 8 players on IR. So you got to look at that and see who you're going to bring back. And then, okay, well, we need to target let's say, is A.J. McCarron coming back, or is he going to retire? Now we got to go find us a quarterback. And then you just have those positions, oh, man, we need to go get 2 safeties. We lost 2 guys to the league or something. So, and that's pretty much what I'll be doing in August. I'll be going to NFL camps, talking to their pro directors, who's going to make it, who's not, the hot guys for me. And, you start – hey, you talk, hey, Dave Boller, hey, if something falls out here at Chicago, I hope it doesn't, but if it is, let me be your fallback plan. So you start planting that in some players' heads and agents, and you just go through the season. And, training camp's going to, come January 1, we'll be, you're going to be ready to be going to Dallas pretty quick. So.
Is there player development opportunities for you, or is the window too short and you're just sort of getting these guys ready for the season and bringing some cohesion to the team? Or do you have opportunities to take fringe kind of players and help them develop?
No, we did. Last year we took some, and it is like I said, it's a development league, and sometimes coaches we get where we just want experienced people. Well, that's not where we're at. That's the NFL. We're trying to get those guys playing time to get them that experience. So you got to be, that's where me and Anthony we've done. Coach is great with me. He's probably, when it talks about full-time staff, he's a very good evaluator. We work hand to hand together. He's my right hand. I hope I'm his right hand, but he's very good at the scouting part. And we're in tune together where, hey, you know what? Let's go get a 21-year-old like Nico Bolden this year out of Kent State. It's a network of friends out there, and someone says, hey, this kid didn't make it, Dave, but he's 6'2", he's 4'4", he's 210 pounds, he's a headhunter. So you got a little tip. You watch the tape on him. We pick him up. No one's messing with us. We cut him, bring him back in training camp. His first game, I think he blocked the punt and had 4 tackles. So you just don't know till you see him play, but you rely on your eye. And so we'll go find. That's where we're at. I'm going to be in Houston this weekend. They have an all-comers Texas showcase where guys run around and do position workouts, height, weight. You'll find a few players there, but a lot of my scouting and let's say we'll probably add, a difference of, maybe at 20% new faces will come from guys getting cut in these NFL camps that were on rosters the last couple of years.
Okay. And what should St. Louis fans be most excited about in addition to the potential for that championship? Or is there anything new, any innovation coming in the league, anything new coming?
It'll be interesting what they do with the kickoff. We had the kickoff rule in the XFL that the NFL adopted.
That's the one that's starting this fall in the NFL?
Yeah, for some reason, our league voted to go back, and it was I wasn't a real fan when you talk about safety because we're kicking off at the 20-yard line to promote returns. Well, can you imagine, when you only have 42 men dressing and your starters are even running down on kickoff, that's a long sprint in the fourth quarter. How many times do guys run 40 yards at a time? And, we consider ourselves a high-profile offense, and we're scoring 4 or 5 touchdowns. That 5th touchdown, those kickoff return guys are looking at the quarterback like, they slow it down, man, because they gotta run down a full blast. And it's I'll have to say, you just kind of looked at that one. So I'm hoping we go back to the old kickoff. I think it was safer and it was different. It's kind of like our we have no PATs, the extra point. It's 1 from the 3-yard line, 2 from the 5, and 3 points from the 10. And that brings a different wrinkle.
Sure.
It's just so weird how many people go for 2 or 1. And right now, we'll have a rules meeting in September, but I think it'll be status quo. But I think the city is so hungry. We got to deliver. And we came close this year. And I've looked at college football in the NFL since I've been a little older. I think it's kind of like an endurance test. You even see it in the NFL playoffs. It not even just your quarterback, but if you maintain your pretty much nucleus of starters and don't get a lot of people hurt, you got a chance on finishing that thing. And you know what? This year we got close right at the end, and we lost 2 linebackers the week before, a safety. We got, and that's no excuses, but that's one. So our city's looking for that championship. So we got to get.
We've been in a little bit of a drought as it relates to football championships here.
Yeah,
so,
we got to get a little bit more depth on our roster. So when those bad things happen, the next guy steps in.
So what are let's speak for a second about the innovation piece, because I find it interesting. I guess the other thing that you all are doing is the expansion of the communication piece. So there's 8 guys with headsets on offense. Is that on offense and defense, or just on offense?
Yeah, you have eight between, so you mix them up. Of course, us being an offense-oriented team, Coach Donnie Abrams, our defense coordinator, is always shaking his head because 5 are usually going to offense and 3 to D. You know what I mean? But it's just it's really I think it helps speeds up the game. It makes it cleaner, and it's
and there's no time cutoff, right? So that coaches can communicate all the way up until the snap, basically.
Right up to the snap. So it could be good. You're sitting there and you got to get used to it because someone's talking to your ear. Some guys. I remember being at Philly, Brian Dawkins, our safety, he didn't want to make the calls. He just wanted to go make a play. So some of those guys, when you're trying to talk to them, all that, they're like, let alone trying to see the field for themselves. And then, they got to get everybody else lined up or, as a safety adjusting the coverages. I think it can be, it can be trying on some, but I think we find a way. And the guys who utilize it the best, like there's certain receivers, of course, the quarterback, I don't think none of our O-line did, but we have so many receivers. That's what there's four having in their helmets for
And
sure.
that's something that the NFL is looking at also from an
Yes,
innovation
sir.
standpoint?
Yeah. Yes. For sure the Mike backers QBs already do, you know what I mean? And it's essential. And I tell you what, when it goes out, it's tough because then both sides have to go, but you've gotten used to that. You know what I mean? It's different. Back in the old days, singling or sending guys in with the plays. Now it's all done, by communications through headpieces. So when communications or technology fails, it's like, oh no,
Right.
what are we going to do now?
And then from a fan experience standpoint, I guess there's some transparency in the video replay. Is that right? Are they doing is that open communication that's on the broadcast? Or
this has been the tough one because, you got to be real careful. The officials that do our league are trying to get to the NFL too. Most of them are Division I colleges, but that's you do ever want to criticize. But when you get new, officiating crews and all that, but every play is reviewable. And then you're like, how did he miss that? You know what I mean? And what was he looking at? Maybe he wasn't looking exactly what we saw because I had the replay. I'm up in the booth, and that's kind of what I'm watching. And then, on Mondays, there's 3 or 4 calls you write in the league, and Anthony will get a call back from the head of the officials and say, hey, yeah, we missed that. So it's still a work in progress, but it helps. You know what I mean? Each team has one try. So, like, you could throw a touchdown pass, and I could say your left tackle was holding. And you got to specify, but if that's right, it's coming back.
Okay.
It's real easy if it's looks like it could be a pass interference on the guy who caught or pushed off. But, I mean, you can call, like we had one go for us in the playoffs. It was, I think, a legal field down block, and they were, and we got lucky. One of our guys on the bench pointed it out to our coach. He called it up, and Anthony called it. Boom. We got the ball back.
So taking a step back a little bit, and when you look at the St. Louis market and you guys, what can you do? I mean, obviously the hub city thing makes a lot of sense, but as you mentioned, you don't really have a home game. You're flying in the day before doing the thing. How do you try to connect the players and the organization to the fans when you sort of have that when you're challenged financially to get them here for that much period of time? Are there things experientially that you guys are trying to do, or
Yeah, Brian, our communications guy, and our team vice president have helped us immensely. But like I said, Coach Beck is so good about whatever he can do, and any chance he can get back to the town, if it's a sponsorship deal, dinner, season ticket thing, and the league has been good where we can fly in early and we'll do community service work. Or guys, there could be a pep rally downtown, and we'll show up the whole team. A week ago, we had a camp that was sponsored by the Army. A bunch of our players were there to work it. So it's getting better, but I think, on our limited budget, we only can do what we do. But we do try. I think, like I said, Coach especially is so big on, the community, helping the fans out and getting entrenched in. He's flown in the season once or twice on his own just to do appearances. You know what I mean? And, at one time we had 3 or 4 ex-Ram players on our staff, the first staff.
Yeah, and look, you guys are doing a hell of a job. I mean, you averaged 34,000 fans last year. Yeah. That's almost 3 times the league average. So, you guys are. It's obviously it's a wonderful city. It's super supportive of its sports teams, but at the same time, you guys have put a good product on the field, and that's making a difference.
Yeah, they're hungry, and I think us getting the product, it's been a great marriage. And I tell you, when you walk, I'm amazed. I did the Cardinal walk when I was at Louisville, or when we played the Chick-fil-A game, and you got people, lined up for 1,000 yards wanting to shake your hand, and we get off of this park and walk into the dome, and there's people 4 hours before game time. We show up 4 hours before, not 2. Coach likes to get there early, and they're there. They treat us like rock stars, and then of course once you enter the stadium, it's a lot different than most stadiums, and I don't think many teams like to come to our place. But hey, that's to say, I wish we played all at home. So.
How has the relationship with the city been, and with the Dome in particular?
Great. It's almost like you cry when you go in there because they just want you to come back. A lot of the people that are working in the Dome, I remember when I was with the Rams, and that was the greatest show on turf area when, Kurt and Marshall were there and Mike Martz. So it's really cool to see the same people. And like I said, I think they felt betrayed by the NFL. And, even in the championship game, Torrey Holt was back. Kurt was on the sidelines. They're bringing people back and try to get involved. But like I said, one of these days they will. I think the expansion will be where they sell the franchises, to partial owners. So someone from St. Louis will own the team, and look out then.
Sure. Are they going to replace the turf, or is that already?
It's coming up. I think it's supposed to be this year. Yeah, whatever they had done, it's done. And I didn't think it was too bad anyway. Some of the guys said some things, but yeah, we're supposed to get new turf this year.
Well, it doesn't present all that well on television, so I think that was a lot of the pushback too. So,
you got me. Yeah, so on that one.
How do you view the relationship, or is there a relationship with the Cardinals and the Blues and St. Louis City SC as that kind of fourth professional franchise in St. Louis? Is there a relationship there, or I mean, you outdrew them a couple nights. I remember there was one day where you had more fans than the Cardinals did. So.
Yeah, I think there is those, and you wish when we do our schedules we'd look closer, because like there's been sometimes you're going to head with the Cardinals when they're playing, and that's tough. You know what I mean? Because you're going to lose so many there, or you make sure, hey, yeah, we're teeing off 2 hours after, 2 hours before, so we get both crowds. But no, I think there's a good relationship. Stully's done a great job. Like over a year ago, we came back and the Cardinals had Anthony and a player out there for opening day. He got to throw the first pitch, and I grew up a Cardinal fan, so it killed me not being there. I had a back problem, but with the Blues. So yeah, we're trying to be right in there, and I think they've welcomed us.
And there's been some, I guess I was reading a couple of articles where the league is doing its best to try to not compete on same days, or trying to really be conscientious and purposeful in terms of the schedule writing to try to avoid some of those conflicts if they can.
Yep, that's exactly. We're cognizant of starting late because of college basketball, so we start a little later. But no, when it comes to the hockey teams, even the soccer. Especially baseball. Yeah.
So this is a little bit of a business podcast. So what are there metrics? Are there numbers in particular that you're looking at on a regular basis in season that are important to you as you guys look at the ongoing viability, or is your focus solely once the season gets started on putting a winning team on the field?
Yeah, they don't give us any numbers, I think we all know the better product we put out and the more people we put in the stands and the more viewerships we creates money. And, we're like we talked about, my staff, the numbers on the team is cut. We have a hard budget that the money people, when you imagine, what college football teams or NFL football teams, you just think about what besides a payroll, what it takes to fly 50 guys city to city, hotel, meals, the medical part. So it's a huge budget. So we have to adhere to that budget. That's probably, 90% of the hard part is making sure we stay within those numbers. And then when the product proves through attendance and viewership and sponsorship, that's when we look good. But they've never said, hey, you know what? If we don't do this, it's over. So we've never got that figure.
And you're not managing a salary cap, so you got that.
No, I guess in a way, they know the salary cap because it's a fixed amount what you're going to pay each guy. And again, it's like injured reserve. You get guys hurt week one, they get paid the rest of the year. So that's just like the NFL. So there's some. Monies you never think of. But that's with I think when they cut back on a lot of our staff and only half-year contracts, where the GMs are the full year. They looked at that model, and that's to get us over the hump. I think that's what they figured, and it worked last year. And so here we are, year 2, and there was no waffling. It was all full steam ahead.
So as you and the league look ahead 3 to 5 years in the future, what does it look like? What does the UFL look like, you think, in 2028, 2029?
I would like to see us in the hubs, so our players really we got a great I think we got a great group of guys, and they love helping out in the community. And so right now, when there's things to do in Dallas, Arlington, my guys are volunteering, but it's not the same as being in St. Louis. So I would love to be in the city there, establishing roots, being there all year, putting on programs, and I think the money would come for sponsors more easily. I think our product in the stadium, we would be selling out instead of close to sellouts. And I believe TV will go up when that happens. I think you got to take baby steps to get there. The AFL and the NFL, it was, what were those first Super Bowl tickets? They weren't even, the first Super Bowl wasn't even sold out, So, I mean, yeah, we have a long way to go, but that's probably where in 3 to 5 years. And I'd like to see the roster grow a little bit. Can't get stupid, but 42 is a hard number to dress. Like to dress more, and and go to training camp with more. But again, we need those numbers and start making a little bit of money, and then ask for. I think you'd like to pay the players a little bit more. We really our only competition's Canada, and I don't think I'm not. None of us GMs are patting ourselves back, but it's pretty easy to keep guys from the U.S. going up to Canada because they want to play here in the States.
Sure.
And, it's a longer season, but again, if you're not offering, if they're offering, they're allowed to pay certain positions more, then you're in a financial deal. But yeah, hopefully in 3 years our money gets up and we get to pay the guys a little bit more.
And your thought potentially is it would go to city ownership or ownership in the community as opposed to
I've heard. I don't think the league
ownership?
give up total, but like minority ownership. Just like you see a lot of these teams. I mean, you know who the owner is, but there's probably how many minority owners. So this one, I'm sure they'll sell 48%. The league keeps 52, but I think that would be great.
Right. So home for you is Tempe, Arizona, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you do the same thing? You go spend your 10 weeks in Arlington when that comes, or do you work out of Tempe most of the time?
No, I got to be there. It was funny because Coach and me just talked the other day. It was like it's only been a little bit over a month since the season, but it was a long 3 months. You're away from home, and I don't have any kids, or they'd be all out of school now, but still. Your wife and the dog, they make adjustments. And when you come home, they got to make adjustments, you being back. But it's cool. She flies out, and we all go through it. Those other coaches and players, they become your family for 3 months. And that's what I'm saying. And when you walk into the Dome and get to see 40,000 people, it makes you feel kind of good. Like the last game, I walked in to the locker room. There was Mike Martz. He was doing the color for our game. Mike, I've known since I've been 19 years old. It's like seeing your dad. I about started crying, Hey, gave you a hug and you feel good, but it's part of the sacrifice, and I wouldn't give it up for the world.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a traveling circus, I guess, right?
Yes, sir. I mean, in college football, I wasn't gone as much, but even before the NIL thing, we had some, Coach Petrino's at Louisville with me. We had some Lamar Jackson in the world, some Jair Alexanders, but our program was picking up steam, but I worked every weekend. You have kids coming. There's no rules now, so they're coming on the campus. So I had to work Saturday and Sundays. So you're not at home anyway, so you get to sleep at home. So
right.
The jobs are really it's gotten crazy in football.
So what do you like to do during the off season then? You got a little bit of a break right now. I mean,
get healthy. I gain a little weight in the off season because I don't get to work out as much. And just relax. It's hard for me to relax, but you get caught up with people. I'll travel. I'll get one trip out of it, then do a bunch of weekends. Like, let's say I'm going to go down to Houston and do a showcase. That's where all the Texas kids worked out we talked about. And I'll stay down an extra day or two and maybe go watch the Texans practice or the Saints, and you get to see some people that way. It's some social too, and if I have to fly, I might as well. If I'm going to go for a day, I'll stay out for 2 or 3 days. But I don't like traveling as much. I want to be home.
Sure. And for fans, season tickets, I understand, are getting ready to go on sale this week, next
Should
week.
If it's not, like Stolly said, if it's not this week, it's next weekend. And I think everybody is looking forward to the schedule. Heck, I am too. So the sooner that gets out, it really picks it up. And when people get to see when you're going to be home, when you're going to be away, and who you're, who the what do you call it, out of conference appointment or your foes are, that's important. So,
well, Dave,
it'll be great.
Dave, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you spending a few minutes with me this morning, and as a non-football guy and not understanding it as much, it's a super interesting format and league, and it sounds like you guys have had a lot of success and certainly had some success in St. Louis. So thanks for everything you're doing for our city, and we wish you a heck of a lot of luck in this upcoming season.
Well, I wouldn't know that because you sound like you know a lot about football, but the business side it interests me too, and I appreciate you having me on anytime.
All right.
Hope I can be a help.
Thanks, Dave.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining me today. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed sharing these insights from folks I truly admire. Be sure and follow the show in your favorite podcast player to be alerted to newly released episodes. And share a comment if you have any feedback or future contributor recommendations.